Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 2 versus 2 on Colleville, and in this one I'm going to be using the 12th SS-Panzer Division. I'm going to be playing against Memester and Slowly Old Man, and they're going to be using the 15th Infantry and the 2nd Armoured French Division, respectively. So it's been a few videos now, and you guys have seen me use the French deck to quite devastating effect on unwitting opponents, and in this one I thought it was time to take up the Axis side of things and see if we could win against the French decks now that people have had their hands on it for a little longer. And when the deck just came out, I didn't expect necessarily people to be as good with that deck as maybe I was with some of my Axis decks, so I had a better chance back then. But now the French deck, people have definitely worked out what works well. For example, the two-star vet M8 Greyhounds with a command car is generally perceived to be the best strategy for the French deck currently, at the start of the game at least. And I can see why, because those M8 Greyhounds are incredibly powerful. And some of you guys have been asking me my opinions on the French deck, and yes, I do believe it is overpowered and definitely needs balancing, but in a way that not necessarily many other people have touched upon. Yes, certain units like the M8 Greyhound and some of their infantry needs to be reduced in terms of veterancy. However, I feel the main issue that's coming to light with Steel Division is the massive difference in Phase A requisition points. So, some people call them requisition points, some call them reinforcement points. Basically what I'm talking about is how many points you get to reinforce yourself at Phase A. So, with the French deck, it's at 105 points, which is the most any division can get, I believe. I think it's the highest income division in Phase A. Now, this wouldn't be so much of a problem. I don't care that it's the highest. I care that it's highest by a long way. Now, if we look at the numbers, the French get roughly 300 more points in Phase A to work with than my SS-Panzer division, for example, in this game. And that is a lot. That is 5-6 Stuarts. Like, that's a lot of tanks. And they can field that many as well, because there isn't a large enough cap on availability. Now, yes, the French do suffer with not having enough, well, I wouldn't say enough, but as many infantry at the start of the game. However, they can field it all by the end of Phase A anyway, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference. Now, some of you may say, well, what about Phase C? But the thing is that I've been finding is when I play French against people, I don't reach Phase C, and I'm not trying to boast that I'm good at the game. I'm saying that happens because the deck is incredibly good, and you get so many reinforcement points in Phase A that you gain such an advantage over your enemy. And unless your enemy is being extremely efficient with their units and getting way more kills, at least 300 more kills than you, they are always going to lose that phase. And that's quite important. So that's how I think they should look at balancing the game. Maybe bringing the disparity in Phase A from different divisions closer together. So even bring up the 3rd Armoured. Like, bring up the 3rd Armoured from 65 points in Phase A to maybe 80. But bring the French down to 100. Maybe increase SS-Panzer up to 75. Have the differences still. I'm not saying don't have the differences. I'm just saying that they need to standardise it a little better. Anyway, let's stop talking about all that and start focusing on the gameplay. I just took out a 6-pounder AT gun there with my own AT gun because they didn't unload it in time. So that was a good start. My 222 did die on the road, unfortunately, to a Honey Stuart. My Pack 35 there is going to bail out to Universal Carrier as well. That was quite nice. And yeah, I managed to get this 2-2 out of there, so that was good. Managed to get my infantry into position as well, even though Memester managed to get his troops up here. And as you can see, I am going to be playing against the 15th Infantry, so all this talk about the French is not necessarily as relevant, although Val's doing a fantastic job on the right side using smoke to gain an advantage with his Panzer Grenadiers. So what you'll see him doing throughout this game is basically using his Panzer Grenadiers, which are fantastic with their 2 MG42s, to basically take out the enemy infantry whilst keeping him covered against the opposing fire support. So that's what Val was busy doing on the right side. Meanwhile on the left I brought up two 259s. I didn't actually have these in at the start of the game, I used up the rest of my points. Over on the left I do kill a universal carrier with some scouts in it. That's how I get the scouts kill, and the AT gun on this right side actually kills off one of the Honey Stewards. Now, I am forced to move that back eventually, but as you can see in the middle of the map, Spitfire's going to come in, start harassing us in Phase A. We have nothing to deal with this. We are playing 12th SS-Panzer. We have no Phase A fighters, so that's just something we got to deal with. We could bring in some AA, but all of the Phase A AA for 12th SS-Panzer is also pretty terrible. So we just got to live with those Spitfires for now and focus on the ground. And this is where efficiency really becomes a problem, because when the French can really exploit certain things, for example having a strong amount of tanks in the early game, or having 2 Spitfires in the early game, and you don't have anything to counter it, you can't be efficient with your own units because you don't have those counters. And that's a bit of an issue. Just an issue that goes back to the French being very powerful. Either way, it doesn't particularly matter in this point, because I managed to get my Panzer Grenadiers into a good position alongside my half-track and the 259 here to pin down this Bren group and eventually destroy them. And I'm moving my 259s to the centre town as well to accompany my Panzer Grenadiers. Now I set these Panzer Grenadiers here actually onto return fire, mainly so they don't open up onto the enemy infantry and reveal their position and get taken out, because I really want to just maintain the front line in the town at the moment, give them a reason not to push forwards. Meanwhile on the right side, while Val's still using smoke to cover off against fire support up the road, and then using the machine guns to take out the enemy infantry, and it looks like Slowly was actually using Voltigeurs, which aren't the best infantry to use in this scenario, but still line infantry nonetheless. He's supporting those with command infantry, and he does have the M10 here. And this Pack 38 did a good job earlier killing one of the Greyhounds in the centre, but is going to be pinned down quite heavily there by the enemy infantry and the half-tracks. The 259's managing to hit these Bren group pretty hard. These guys charged down my Pack 38, and that's why I had to get rid of that. The Bow Cromwells come up, and that's going to get the last hit onto the Bren group. Got my spear troop here. They're going to hopefully take care of the 10-man infantry squad I saw coming through this field, and I've just got them into a position here on the edge of the forest so they can open up with their machine gun. Moving over my Aufklärer, because I'm kind of worried that my spear troop would die to the rifles. And I'm continuing to do a little bit of damage over here onto this, these universal carriers and Bren carriers and so on. Now this 6-pounder, 2 stars, is going to destroy the engine of my 259. Ideally, I would have had both of these 259s engage that AT gun at the same time, but what ended up happening was I don't have any ammunition for the 20mm on this one, and this one's very low on ammunition as well. So I'm just going to fast move those away from there and get them all the way back so that I can resupply them later on. Spitfire's coming in again, not much I can do about that. But my spare troops still alive, so that's something. Bringing over half-tracks to support against these rifles, as I don't want those rifles to make too much ground in the centre. So the rifles are on target. I'm going to leave this one pinning them down, and I'm going to fast move this one towards them to try and make them surrender. That also allows me to move up the Panzer Grenadiers without them being harassed too much. Spitfire's going to come in onto the spear troop, but not too much I can do about that again. Panzer Grenadiers are going to open up onto this 6-pounder, which was very nice actually. Managed to do quite a lot of damage to the 6-pounder there. And I probably should have finished off the kill because I wasn't taking too much damage in the building. However, this fire support was a bit of a problem, and I knew that eventually the AT gun would go out of line of sight. So I moved them back into the building eventually on return fire. That will maybe make the vehicles come a bit closer so I can use the Panzerfaust, but that's pretty much all I was going to do. My half-track's still busy chasing this rifle squad across the middle field. And now my Panzer Grenadiers here are going to get pinned down by the Spitfires. So I eventually make the rifles in the centre surrender, and I open up a massive front here, noticing that there is practically nothing defending the middle of the map. So that's all very well, and I could just very much exploit this. However, there's no road that goes straight up the centre of the map, so my half-track's moving very slowly forwards to try and make us some ground early into the game. And we are still running a +1, 56% territory in our favour. Panzer Grenadiers are still holding fire here. These Panzer Grenadiers get on the wrong end of a Universal Carrier and a Honey Stuart, so they're going to go down. And that was a bit unfortunate. Probably should have had them a bit deeper into the forest there and not lost them, because that definitely made my Pak 38 less effective alongside the Panzer Grenadiers. And the Panzer Grenadiers are eventually going to get spotted, and I'm just going to try and retreat them to this building so that they can engage the rifles without being hit by the enemy fire support. So that was the plan. They just weren't wanting to get into that building. Eventually they do. And I do hit the rifles very hard. My Pak 38 takes out the Honey Stuart on the left side, probably the most valuable target, which was fantastic before it gets absolutely annihilated by the enemy carriers. And now my Panzer Grenadiers here and engaging multiple rifle squads alongside the Brent group, and not too much I can do about that. So I'm going to try and bring up the 259s just to stem the flow. My Beau Cromwell, Butte Cromwell. Going to be having a go at this Humber Mark III, but going to miss that shot. Panzer Grenadiers eventually go down, and well, I'm kind of losing ground here. It's not going particularly well. Managed to get line of sight onto that infantry squad on the left. I want to get relatively close to these rifles. I don't have any AT, so I can do so. You have to be a little bit careful though. Of course, the half-tracks are technically open top, so they can be destroyed by close grenades. My Pak 38, since it's moved back into another position, manages to get a lovely snipe through the centre of this building straight into the Honey Stuart. That was quite the shot there by my Pak 38, but just shows you how good some of these positions can be. And that's exactly the reason why I kept it back here, because I still have some good line of sight onto this street. And it's also kind of covered. I can also just move it behind this tree line if I need to. I probably should have moved that after I got the kill. Bit of a mistake on my part. 259 is going to engage these rifles again as my Aufklärer get targeted. Moving up my Butte Cromwell. That's going to open up onto the rifle squad as well. He doesn't want that to happen, so he's going to run away with those rifles. And I brought over the Cromwell here to take care of this AT gun, but the AT gun's going to get a one-shot kill, and not much I can do about that. The only issue, well, the only thing that you could say I could have done better is just not had it there in the first place, which, to be honest, is probably my fault. Definitely should have had it further back, so the accuracy wasn't as good on the AT gun, and then being able to fire position where I knew the AT gun was. I had the attack beacon here, because I actually didn't see it fire from the rear tree line at the time. My 259s now, they're being resupplied by this Opel Blitz. I basically had to get them up there to give me some more ammunition. My Fireflies are fast moving into the town. This was a bit of a miss micro on my part. I didn't mean to actually push it up that far. Managed to get away with it though, thanks to them being the 15th Infantry. Well, it actually doesn't really matter. You know, they don't have enough AT to deal with that. They had the command squad there with the Piat, but I didn't let it get close enough. I did notice in time, so I managed to get that away, and I'm just going to start reversing that whilst it uses its 30 cal machine gun on target. Spitfire's going to come in, try and harass my Opel Blitz, but I'm going to get it behind cover just in time. I'm going to do quite a lot of morale damage to the Mark 9, that wasn't too bad there. 259 is currently just taking cover. I really want to get rid of this AT gun here, but I didn't really invest enough to take it out for most of the game, and that was basically my fault. Spitfire's still coming in to try and take out the Opel Blitz, but missing. Val here on the right side. He's used smoke to get very, very far up in this town now. But now the Char M5A1s, the Stuarts, have come up with those 30 cals. It's going to bring up these 222s to try and charge the M10. Not exactly going to work out though. The M10 does have a 50 cal, and that can pin down the 222s very effectively without the main gun even firing. As soon as these 222s stop in range of that M10, they're going to take a lot of damage. You can see the Spitfires coming in here to make it even worse as well. So I think the Spitfire even got that 222 kill. It's going to charge this 222 towards the M10 since the M10 had its driver knocked out. Going to try and get the side shot here. Unfortunately, his 222 surrenders. Doesn't manage to pull that off, but definitely worth the try. Brought up a lot of my half tracks now. Swung them over from the right side where I was supporting my recon. brought them over to the left to suppress the enemy rifle squads. So for me, this match is all about efficiency. I've got to make sure that I make the most out of my units. You can see here I'm letting my Panzer Grenadiers be pinned down. This is actually very important. Now when they're pinned down, they get a defensive bonus. And the rifles will continue to fire at them, because they're the only thing in range that they can actually kill. The Panzer Grenadiers here, even though they're under constant fire, aren't actually going to die, whilst my machine guns can freely open up onto the enemy rifles. Now, it's not ideal that they're in cover, because they're not going to take too much damage either, especially when they're pinned down as well. But still, I've got more firepower on target. They're not using smoke to stop it, so I'm able to take full advantage. Take out the Humber Mark III in the centre. You can see I get rid of that, push the front line back in our favour, and I'm moving the Pak 38 now over to the right to stop that being hit by a airstrike. Panzerwerfer comes in. That's going to silence all of this machine gun fire that was going on. Basically use that to try and take care of the AT gun here. Really wanted to just burn out this tree line so I could start to swing around the left with my light vehicles, but didn't manage to get the kill in this case. My earth clearer unfortunately died to the bomber. Completely unintentional by my opponent, but just because the Firefly was driving nearby. A bit unfortunate. Seeing the Command Churchill coming up in the town, time for me to back off with my Firefly to max range to take full advantage of the range that I have and the AP power. Don't want this Churchill to get into range of the Firefly because then it could kill it. On the right side, Val's still maintaining his control with the Panzer Grenadiers, however slowly has brought in an M4A3 with the 105mm gun on it, which will very effectively kill infantry. But that's got an engine destroyed, so he doesn't have to worry about that moving anywhere anytime soon. Going to be moving up my half tracks here, very close to the enemy. It's going to allow me to get very accurate shots onto those rifles for free. Now I'm measuring the range here against this Churchill, and you can see he's just outside the 1,000-meter range that he needs to engage my Firefly, and he even reverses it, which is probably a good idea. You don't want a Firefly popping your Command Churchills. But I'm just going to try and move to the right. I know I'm out of line of sight, so I can show my sidearm, it doesn't really matter. Just going to maintain the range, get into line of sight, and continue to try and pop his Command Churchills. It's pretty much the plan. Whilst my infantry comes up and engages his infantry. I brought up some more Panzer Grenadiers and Noble Blitzes. One manages to get into a building, the other one gets pinned down, and I'm just going to let this be pinned down again so that I reveal the enemy positions. Poor fellas, absolutely terrified for their lives, and I'm just using them. Yeah, some commander I am. Anyway, the half tracks are engaging these rifles, and with the 222 support, well, we're going to absolutely wreck them. And yeah, with the SPW 222 coming up, that's what we need to basically break the back of all of these entrenched positions. I lost my Panzer Grenadier squad here, unfortunately, but they definitely paid themselves off for how long they stuck around. And while Val's holding on the right side, finally finishes off the M4A3 with his Jagdpanzer IV. Now these Jagdpanzers, I've actually kind of fell in love with these things. They come in as 2 stars in Phase B, and you can buff them up to be 3 stars, of course, with a command unit nearby. Very, very efficient unit, like I say. Everything's about efficiency with the Germans. You can't just throw stuff at the enemy willy-nilly. You've got to make sure that you're really using the right units. In this case, you can see I'm using some smoke here. I think that was actually, no, that was definitely my smoke, I think, with the 257. I was trying to block off the fire support from the Churchill so that I could move some more of my infantry forwards and continue to use the 222 and the half tracks here. That was the plan, at least. The Spitfire bomber is going to be coming in. I've actually brought up another command infantry squad, the Pioneer Führer on the left, and they brought up a 251-9 as well, which is a 3-star APC thanks to the command of this unit. Do lose another 259 to the AT gun that's still not dead on this left side. I definitely should have invested more points into try and take that out. You can see our air engagement's finally underway. We brought our Phase B ME-109s in. Val did lose one of his, but we managed to trade one of the Spitfires in the end. Panzerwerfer has reloaded, and that's going to be firing away once again. I'm going to be using my newfound air superiority to finish off the Piet squad and the rifle squad, strafing those squads that I could see. Now some off-map artillery coming in onto my own troops. Just going to remain in cover, not push forwards while that's available. And my mortar's busy trying to take out the AT gun again. I've got a Jagdpanzer here, that's coming up to get line of sight down the road. And my Firefly is still sitting very far back again, line of sight down the road. It is in range to fire 1,200 meter range, so very much to the edge of the circle. And that's why he's sitting just there. Panzerwerfer is going to be moving away from all of this counter battery with the Opel Blitz so that it can resupply. One of my half-tracks is going to be here taken out by the rifles leader with the Piet. Ammo explosion going to take that out. So my ME-109's running out of fuel, soon to be evacuated. And more off-map artillery coming in. Wonderful. Is going to take out one of my Panzer Grenadier squads with a direct hit. All I've got to do really is just resupply myself with more infantry at this point, just to try and maintain the front line. Val's lost quite a lot of his Panzergrens on the right side, but he's now got this Jagdpanzer certainly doing work for him. He's also got this combination of the Firefly and Panther D, with their very long range, able to engage this M5A1 out of range. Even this M5A1 wouldn't be able to do anything anyway, but still got plenty of targets here for them. There goes the Stuart, and they have eyes on the half-track as well. So Val's doing relatively well for himself. My half-track here is going to go down, I believe, to an enemy tank. It's a bit unfortunate. Mortar's still firing away onto where I believe the enemy AT gun is. Firefly has come across. And the idea with the Firefly was to pick off this newfound armour. Providing some smoke, want to run these Panzer Grenadiers through to pick off some of these units in the side armour with the Panzerfaust. If I can get at least one of them, it would be worth it, so definitely going for that trade. And in this forest area here, well, the rifle leader not going to last very long. Pioneer Führer and the Panzergrens getting on target there. Now trying to move through the smoke, I do bump into a rifle squad. I just retreat immediately with the Panzergrens. I take out that unit there. In the open on the right side, the Jagdpanzer was just going ham on the rifles as they tried to move across the open. My recon making sure that I can see all of that, and we're getting 3 shots onto it. Val's made a concerted effort on the right side now to make some more ground, and he's certainly done so thanks to his Firefly and the Panther D. So really good job there by him, bringing up the smoke or the artillery again onto the Beaufort just to pin that down so it can stop hitting his grenadiers. Over on the left side, the Churchill OP has now been moved up. This thing just has a machine gun. Can be useful against infantry, of course. Do take out one of the command Churchills there thanks to the Jagdpanzer. Jagdpanzer turns, kills another unit. And I believe that might have been the AVRE, or actually the second command Churchill. Now over on this left side, that Churchill OP actually did work onto my infantry squads. This time round I'm not allowing the Spitfire to drop its bombs. My ME-109s are there to stop that from happening. Another 259 going down to the enemy AT gun. That AT gun should have taken it out by now, but for some reason it dodged all my mortar shots, it dodged my Panzerwerfer, and I just never actually got around to killing it. Finally my Speer troop in the middle go down to the enemy rifle squad, but Val's got the middle covered with a couple more Panzergrens and the half-tracks. I'm bringing in my ME-109 for a strafing run as well, just to keep that Panzergren unit pinned down. Enemy Spitfire going to be brought up. He realises that's a bad idea. He's going to get that out of there before my ME-109s get on target. I'm definitely going to try and chase it down. But as soon as I see him telling it to evacuate, I'm not going to get there in time, so may as well just keep them in the sky and use them to harass the rifles here. And I am definitely just going to pick those off quickly. So my push is a little bit broken on this side. My Firefly is going to come up and take out that tank. Goodbye to the Churchill OP. Actually, that was an AVRE. Got rid of that. Got these 2 units of infantry ready to push up. And as you can see, off they go. Now that these infantry units have arrived, I want to push all along the front at the same time and find the weak point. The AT guns firing away onto my Firefly. I was lucky that didn't get side shot, honestly. Really mismicroed this. But what I'm trying to do here, as you can see, is it's wiggling until the point where I can get it out of line of sight. So I was basically trying to keep the front armour faced as much as I could, just to get the Firefly out of there. Bringing the Jagdpanzer over. I'm hoping that that can get the shot onto the AT gun that we need. Because it only needs 1 shot, it's 2 health. 1 shot from either of these tanks on target will take out the AT gun. So just bringing out the Jagdpanzer to have a go. Just need to get some recon on it. But he gets me first with another 1-shot kill. Yeah, that was quite annoying. However, over on the right side, Val's done work. I'm still holding 50% of the map, by the way. This is still 50-50 on my side. However, Val's managed to break the back of this French deck on the right side and has eventually pushed through. We're now into phase B. In phase C, sorry. In phase B, he managed to recover enough that he could continue to push on with his new armour and Panther Ds and so on coming up. And now, same thing goes for me. I've got the points I need. I'm going to start pushing back against the 15th Armoured Division, or 15th Infantry Division, sorry. So my new Panzer Grenadiers have come in. They're all up-vetted. The 1-star veterancy being 2-star veterancy thanks to the Pioneer Führer. Panzer Grenadiers just going to move on up. Bring in this command infantry over to the left side to buff up the units even more as they move forwards. And well, with all of these 2-star half-tracks and the 2-star infantry, really going to start putting the pain onto these rifles and really start to make some ground. So my Firefly, again, being engaged by the AT gun. AT gun's going to bounce its shot, and finally, this AT gun is dead. Thank God. That did work. That is one hell of a hero AT gun. Really was the bane of my life, because if I'd got rid of that sooner, I could have definitely done like a really nice armoured flank around the left side of the town. I wouldn't have had to worry about pushing into the town, but eventually he forced me to, and when I had enough points, it was inevitable that his back's going to break, and I'm just going to wipe out his front line. And I'm just making loads of ground at the moment. All of his units slowly suffering the same fate. Got my ME-109s in the sky. They're going to try and go for my airplanes here with the Typhoon and the Spitfire. The Spitfire is actually going to be the one going for my ME-109s. He brings in the second one. Do manage to get onto the tail of this Spitfire and shoot that down, but I'm going to trade an ME-109 for that. And at this point, well, yeah, Val's just continuing onwards. He's got the Befehl Panther, he's got Befehl Panzer IV, Panther D with the Firefly. They're all just moving forwards. He's got Jagdpanzer IV on the right side. Nothing they can bring in really that can stop him in the open ground. Managed to shoot down another one of the Spitfires. He's bringing in some Typhoon ATs now to try and take care of my Firefly. Actually, he goes for the half-tracks here. Managed to take out one of them. I'm trying to rush down this Wolverine at the moment with the half-track, but do bump into a Piet squad and a bunch of other things, so that actually surrenders before it gets a chance to do anything. But there you go, the ME-109 trying to do its job. Spitfire is on its tail though, and therefore I am going to lose my ME-109. Meyer game in this one, definitely a lot stronger than before, but after 26 minutes and 25 seconds, we win the game, and Val certainly doing a stellar job on the right side. So if we jump to the teams, we can see that Val did a fantastic job, 2,500 kills to 590 losses. Myself, 2,175 kills to 1,305 losses. So I actually lost quite a lot unnecessarily to that AT gun I was talking about. If we jump to the losses, you can see how much this 6-pounder actually killed. A Jag-Panzer, the Cromwell, multiple half-tracks. Yeah, shouldn't have let that happen. That was my bad. The rest of the kills are granted. You know, Spitfire's going to shoot down my ME-109s eventually. Artillery kills, you know, can't really do much about that. Infantry on infantry, just general trading going on there. But this was my issue. If I hadn't have lost all of these, like Jag-Panzers and so on, my losses would have been more like 500 as opposed to over 1,000. So that was my bad. I really should have just taken care of that AT gun more efficiently, using my mortars to make sure that it was dead before, or at least stunned before I like moved forwards my half tracks to attack it. But I was just completely uncoordinated in that effort. So that was my bad. Maybe could have smoked it off as well. There's always that opportunity. Just didn't really think about it. But either way, an interesting game, I feel. It definitely shows that the Axis have a chance against allies. And I don't think like the French are unbeatable. However, it definitely requires you to be super efficient with your units in Phase A. You can't afford to lose anything. If you lose too much, the French are just going to roll over you and you're never going to recover. As long as you can hold, even against the 15th Infantry, they still had, what, 15 extra per tick against me, but obviously not as much as the French, but still, same thing applies. With the Axis decks, when you have lower reinforcement points or requisition points to use, you got to be efficient about it. And that's how you win those games. So either just play back a little, you know, play a bit defensively, maybe let them get the +1 in the early game, then push back in Phase B. That's one way to do it. Definitely the French deck needs balancing though. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but I don't think it's necessarily unbeatable currently. Definitely OP. But that's my opinion on the game anyway, guys. Let me know what you think about the French deck at the moment. Definitely like to hear your thoughts. Hear your thoughts on the game. I know some of you guys are going to be like, why didn't you use smoke more? Yeah, sometimes I just forget, guys. It's actually quite hard sometimes, you know. When there's so much to think about on the game, trying to manage all of the other units. I've always been terrible with my artillery management, and that's just something that I'm generally bad at. And I'm just going to have to admit that. I've just got to work on it, try and get better. And I should suggest you guys do too. You know, just keep playing. A lot of you guys have been saying as well, like, how come you're good? Like, I wouldn't say I'm that great but at the game, but just watch your own replays. That's probably the biggest tip I have for you guys currently. I'm going to be introducing tutorials to the channel nearer to release. That's something that I definitely plan to do. So look out for those. In the meantime, that's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.